For weeks, I counted every day until Emily came home. 4 years felt like a lifetime, but every video call ended with the same promise. Just a little longer, she always said. I'll be waiting, I always replied. This time, I wanted to surprise her instead of simply picking her up. The night before her flight, I cleaned every room in our house. I hung tiny welcome home decorations across the living room. I filled the refrigerator with her favorite food and placed fresh flowers on the dining table. When I looked around, I smiled. She's finally coming home, I whispered. Early the next morning, I bought a large bouquet of white roses because they had been Emily's favorite since college. The florist smiled. Special occasion? My wife is coming home after 4 years. Then congratulations. Thank you. I walked back to my car feeling lighter than I had in years. During the drive to the airport, I imagined everything. I imagined Emily running toward me. I imagined holding her so tightly that neither of us would want to let go. I imagined driving home while laughing about all the years we had lost. I even practiced what I wanted to say. I missed you every single day. No more distance. We're finally together. When I parked at the airport, my hands were shaking with excitement. I checked the arrival board. Her flight had landed. My heart raced. I stood near the arrival gate, holding the flowers behind my back like a teenager preparing for his first date. People walked through the doors one after another. Families hugged. Children laughed. Couples cried with happiness. Every reunion made me smile because I knew mine was only seconds away. Then I saw her. Emily, I whispered. She looked beautiful. Her smile was brighter than I remembered. For one perfect second, everything felt right. Then I noticed something strange. She wasn't alone. A tall man walked beside her. Their hands were tightly linked. I frowned. Maybe he was helping her with luggage. Maybe I was misunderstanding. Then he reached over and gently kissed her forehead. My stomach dropped. She smiled at him with a warmth I hadn't seen in years. Before I could move, I noticed the baby in her arms. A little girl, maybe 1 year old. She laughed and reached toward the man. Then she said the word that shattered my life. Daddy. The man laughed softly. There's my little princess. Emily kissed the baby's cheek. I couldn't breathe. No, I whispered. This isn't real. My hands became numb. The flowers nearly slipped from my fingers. I quickly stepped behind a large pillar before Emily could see me. My heartbeat pounded inside my ears. I forced myself to look again. Daniel wrapped one arm around Emily while pulling a suitcase with the other. They looked comfortable, natural, like a family. Not strangers, not co-workers, a family. I pressed my back against the cold wall. Please, I whispered, tell me I'm wrong. They stopped only a few feet away. I could hear every word. Daniel smiled. We finally made it. Emily nodded. I know. Were you nervous? A little. What about Ethan? Emily looked down for a moment. I'll deal with him. My chest tightened. Daniel asked quietly, are you sure? Yes. He deserves the truth. I know. So when will you tell him? Emily sighed. After we settle in. I don't want Lily caught in drama. Daniel nodded. Neither do I. He looked at the little girl. Our daughter deserves peace. Emily smiled. She does. My legs nearly gave out beneath me. Our daughter. The words echoed inside my head again and again. I wanted to walk over. I wanted to scream. I wanted answers. Instead, I stayed frozen. Lily reached for Emily's necklace. Daniel laughed. Careful, little troublemaker. Emily laughed with him. It wasn't a forced laugh. It was real. I realized something that hurt even more than the betrayal. She looked happier with him than she had ever looked with me. Tears blurred my vision. I wiped them away before anyone noticed. I waited 4 years, I whispered to myself. I trusted every word. I remembered every lonely birthday, every anniversary spent alone, every late-night call where she promised we would soon be together again. Every sacrifice suddenly felt meaningless. Daniel picked up another suitcase. You ready to go home? Emily smiled. More than ever. Home. The word felt like another knife. They walked away together without looking back. I stood there until they disappeared into the crowd. Only then did I realize I was still holding the flowers. Several petals had fallen onto the floor because my hand was shaking so badly. A young airport worker looked at me. Sir, are you okay? I forced a weak smile. Yeah. He didn't believe me. Neither did I. I walked slowly back to my car. Every step felt heavier than the last. The bouquet rested on the passenger seat beside me during the silent drive home. When I finally reached the house, I unlocked the front door. The decorations were still hanging. The welcome banner still stretched across the wall. The candles waited on the table. Everything I had prepared suddenly looked foolish. I placed the flowers beside the door. Then I sat alone in complete silence. After several minutes, I looked down at my left hand. My wedding ring reflected the evening light. I slowly turned it with my thumb. When did we stop being husband and wife? I whispered. When did our marriage die? No answer came. Only silence. For the first time since marrying Emily, I wondered if the woman I loved had disappeared years before I ever walked into that airport. I locked my apartment door and turned off my phone. The silence felt safer than hearing another lie. I dropped onto the couch and stared at the bouquet from the airport. The flowers were already beginning to wilt. I whispered, "How long have you been lying to me, Emily?" No answer came. I opened my laptop and searched through every message she had sent during the last 4 years. I miss you. Work is exhausting. I can't wait to come home. I love you. Each sentence now looked fake. I opened our photo album. I remember this day. I muttered. In every picture, I had been smiling. Now all I could see was someone being fooled. My phone buzzed again. Ryan. I ignored it. A minute later, it buzzed once more. Then again. Finally, someone knocked on my door. Ethan. Ryan shouted. Open the door. I stayed quiet. Another knock followed. Ethan, I know you're inside. I slowly opened the door. Ryan frowned. What happened to you? Nothing. Don't lie to me. I'm just tired. He looked past me and noticed the untouched decorations. You went to the airport, didn't you? I nodded. Did Emily miss her flight? I laughed bitterly. I wish that had been the problem. Ryan stepped inside. Talk to me. I sat down without speaking. He waited. After nearly a minute, he asked softly, What did you see? I saw my wife. Okay. I also saw another man holding her hand. Ryan's face froze. There was a baby too. He stared at me. What? The little girl called him Daddy. Ryan slowly sat beside me. No. I heard them talking. What did they say? They spoke about starting their life together. Ryan rubbed his forehead. Ethan, I wasn't imagining it. I know. They were a family. He stayed silent. Finally, he asked, Did Emily see you? No. Did you confront her? No. Why not? I couldn't move. Ryan sighed. I'm so sorry. I leaned forward. Tell me honestly. What? Did you ever notice something? He hesitated. Ryan, I don't want to make this worse. Please. He looked down. There were times when Emily seemed different. What do you mean? She stopped talking about coming home. I swallowed hard. What else? Whenever we met on video calls, she always seemed distracted. Why didn't you tell me? I wasn't sure. You suspected something. I suspected she was emotionally distant. I closed my eyes. I thought it was stress. So did I. He looked at me carefully. What are you going to do now? I need answers. You could call her. No. You could confront her. Not yet. Ryan nodded slowly. What do you need from me? Help me find the truth. I'm with you. We spent the next several hours searching through everything we could find. Ryan checked public social media. I searched old emails. He suddenly looked at me. Ethan. What? Come here. I walked over. He pointed at a picture. Emily stood in front of a cafe overseas. Daniel stood beside her. They're close, I whispered. Ryan zoomed in. Look at the date. I did. It had been taken almost 3 years earlier. She told me she spent that weekend working. Ryan clicked another picture. Emily and Daniel appeared again. Different location. Different month. Always together. Why didn't I ever see these? Ryan frowned. I think your account was blocked from viewing them. My stomach tightened. So everyone else could see them? It looks that way. I opened my email history. There has to be something. Then I found it. An airline confirmation. Emily had extended her stay overseas. Not once. 3 separate times. Each extension matched a message she had sent me. My company needs me a little longer. My project isn't finished. I have no choice. I whispered. Every excuse was planned. Ryan didn't answer. He simply kept searching. Another hour passed. Then he found a family photo posted by someone else. Emily. Daniel. The baby. I stared at the child's face. How old do you think she is? Ryan studied the picture. Maybe 11 months. My chest tightened. Emily came home today. Ryan nodded slowly. The timeline. I finished the sentence. She was raising another man's child while telling me she missed me. Neither of us spoke. I felt another part of my heart break. Ryan finally asked, "Do you still think this started recently?" I shook my head. No, this has been happening for years. He placed a hand on my shoulder. What now? I closed the laptop. I don't confront her. Ryan looked surprised. You don't? No. Why? Because I still don't know everything. You already know enough. I know what I saw, and I need proof of every lie. What difference does it make? It makes all the difference. Ryan nodded. So we keep digging. Yes. We stay quiet. Yes. We let her believe you know nothing. I looked at my wedding ring. For now, Ryan stood. Whatever happens next, you won't face it alone. I managed a weak smile. Thank you. He opened the door before stopping. Ethan. Yeah. Don't let your anger make your decisions. I nodded. It won't. After he left, I looked around the apartment. Every memory of Emily suddenly felt like evidence instead of love. I picked up my phone when her name appeared on the screen. It kept ringing. I watched it until the call ended without answering. I'll hear your story, I whispered into the empty room, but not until I know every piece of the truth. That night, I made one promise to myself. Before I took my next step, I would uncover every lie I had never seen. My phone rang just after breakfast. Emily. I stared at her name for several seconds before answering. Hello. Ethan, she said cheerfully. I landed safely. I know. You know. I checked the flight status. Oh. She laughed softly. I waited for you at the airport. Where were you? I forced my voice to stay calm. I'm sorry. A client called at the last minute. I got delayed. That's okay. I was disappointed, but I understand. The lie came so naturally that it made my stomach turn. I'll make it up to you, I replied. When? Tonight. I'd love that. We'll have dinner together. Perfect. I missed you so much. I missed you too. The words almost choked me. We ended the call. I sat quietly for a long moment. How can you sound so normal? I whispered. That evening, I arrived at our house before she did. The welcome decorations were gone. The flowers had been thrown away. Only the silence remained. A few minutes later, the front door opened. Ethan. Emily smiled and rushed toward me. She wrapped her arms around me. I missed you every day. I hugged her back because I didn't want her to know the truth. So have I. She pulled away and looked at me. You look tired. Work has been busy. I know the feeling. She smiled again. It looked exactly like the smile I had fallen in love with. Now it felt unfamiliar. She carried her suitcase upstairs before returning to the kitchen. I'm starving, she said. I made reservations. That's even better. We drove to a small restaurant we used to visit before she moved overseas. The waiter smiled. Welcome back. Emily laughed. It feels good to be home. I looked into her eyes. Does it? Of course. Dinner arrived. For several minutes, we talked about ordinary things. Then I decided to test her. So, I asked casually, how was your flight? It was long. Were you alone? Yes. The word landed like another knife. I slept most of the way. Really? Thankfully. No interesting passengers? She smiled. Not at all. I nodded slowly. What about work? What about it? You stayed longer than expected. My company kept extending the project. You couldn't refuse? I tried. She reached across the table. It was hard being away from you. I forced myself to smile. I believe you. The sentence tasted bitter. She looked relieved. I thought you might be upset. I just wanted you home. And now I am. She squeezed my hand. I love you, Ethan. I stared at her fingers resting on mine. I remembered those same fingers holding Daniel's hand. I love you too, I lied. She smiled brightly. For a moment, I wondered whether she had forgotten the truth or simply become comfortable living inside it. After dinner, we drove home. She yawned. I'm exhausted. You should rest. I think I will. She kissed my cheek. Good night. Good night. She went upstairs. I waited. The house became quiet. An hour passed. Then I heard footsteps. I looked through the window. Emily quietly left the house. She looked around before walking toward a nearby parking lot. I grabbed my keys and followed from a distance. She stopped beside a black SUV. Daniel stepped out. My heartbeat slowed instead of racing. The shock had already done its damage. Now I only wanted answers. Daniel hugged her. Everything okay? Yes. What about Ethan? He believes I traveled alone. Daniel sighed with relief. Good. I moved closer without making a sound. Emily looked worried. We need to finish this soon. I know. When will you tell him? Soon. What about the divorce papers? My lawyer is preparing everything. And the money? I'll handle it. You promised we wouldn't lose anything. We won't. Daniel glanced toward the back seat. Lily's asleep. Emily smiled. I missed her. Daniel opened the door. Emily gently kissed the little girl's forehead. I'll bring her home soon. Daniel lowered his voice. Are you sure Ethan won't suspect anything? Emily shook her head. He's too trusting. The words hit harder than I expected. Daniel asked, how much longer do we keep pretending? Just until everything is signed. Then we're free. Yes. I felt my hands tighten into fists. Not because I wanted revenge. Because I finally understood. I had never been part of their future. I had only been part of their plan. Emily kissed Daniel. I'll call you tomorrow. I love you. I love you too. She walked back toward our house. I waited until she disappeared before returning another way. When I entered the living room, everything looked the same. The couch, the family photos, the wedding picture hanging on the wall. Only I had changed. I sat alone in the darkness. For hours I had asked myself one question. Why me? Now another question replaced it. What do I do next? For the first time since the airport, I stopped crying. The pain remained. The betrayal remained. But beneath both, something new began to grow. Determination. I wasn't ready to confront Emily. I wasn't ready to forgive her either. I was ready to learn every secret she still believed I would never discover. And this time, I would make my next move with a clear mind instead of a broken heart. The morning after following Emily, I made a decision. I wouldn't yell. I wouldn't beg. I wouldn't expose her without a plan. Instead, I opened my laptop and searched for the best divorce lawyer in the city. One name appeared again and again. Olivia Carter. I called her office. Good morning, Carter Legal. I'd like to schedule a consultation. May I have your name? Ethan Walker. We have an opening this afternoon. I'll take it. 3 hours later, I sat across from Olivia. She looked directly at me. What brings you here, Mr. Walker? I took a deep breath. My wife has been living a double life. She didn't interrupt. I believe she's been having an affair for years. I see. I have photographs. What else? I heard conversations. Any written evidence? Some. She folded her hands. Tell me everything. For nearly an hour, I explained what had happened at the airport, the restaurant, and the parking lot. When I finished, Olivia remained calm. First, I'm sorry you're going through this. Thank you. Second, don't confront her. I frowned. Why not? Because anger makes people careless. I want answers. You'll get them. Then why wait? She leaned forward. If you confront Emily today, she'll hide evidence tomorrow. I stayed quiet. Olivia continued. You need documents. I have pictures. You also need financial records. I can get those. Messages. I've saved them. Witnesses. I have, Ryan. She nodded. Good. What happens after that? We file when your position is strongest. I looked at her. I don't want revenge. That's good. I just want the truth. The truth is most useful when you can prove it. I stood to leave. So my job is simple. Yes. What? Stay calm. I smiled faintly. That may be the hardest part. She handed me a business card. Call me before making any emotional decision. I will. When I left her office, I drove to my sister Grace's house. She opened the door and immediately hugged me. Ethan, I need to talk. She stepped aside. Come in. We sat in her kitchen. She poured coffee. You look exhausted. I am. What happened? I finally told her everything. She covered her mouth. Oh, Ethan, I still can't believe it. She reached across the table. Listen to me carefully. I'm listening. You didn't lose true love. I looked at her. You lost someone willing to lie. The words stayed with me. Grace continued. Those aren't the same thing. It still hurts. I know. I keep asking what I did wrong. She shook her head. Stop asking that. Why? Because honesty doesn't deserve betrayal. I looked away. I wanted to grow old with her. I know. But don't spend your future chasing someone who already walked away. I nodded slowly. Thank you. She smiled. I'm always your sister before I'm anyone else. Over the next several days, I became someone Emily no longer recognized. Not because I changed on the outside, because I stopped reacting. She smiled. I smiled back. She asked about my day. I answered politely. She kissed my cheek. I thanked her. Every conversation felt like a performance. One evening she asked, "Are you okay?" "I'm fine. You seem quieter. Just busy. I miss talking to you." I almost laughed. "You've been busy too." She smiled. "Work never ends." I simply nodded. Inside, I knew every word was another lie. While Emily believed everything was normal, I quietly collected evidence. I downloaded bank statements. I copied business records. I saved every text message. I organized photographs. Ryan helped verify dates and locations. One afternoon he called. "I found something." "What is it?" "Meet me." Half an hour later, I sat beside him. He turned his laptop toward me. "Look." An email appeared on the screen. Emily had written to a financial advisor. My heartbeat slowed. What am I reading? Ryan pointed at one paragraph. I read it twice, then a third time. Emily had asked how much money she could legally claim from my company after filing for divorce. My chest tightened. Ryan looked at me. "There's more." He opened another document. It contained messages between Emily and Daniel. Daniel wrote, "When do you leave him?" Emily replied, "After I secure my share of Ethan's business." I stared at the screen. Daniel answered, "Are you sure?" Emily wrote, "I'm not walking away empty-handed." I couldn't speak. Ryan finally broke the silence. "I'm sorry." I closed my eyes. It was never only about love. No, it was about money too. He nodded. "I think so." I took a long breath. The pain was still there, but now it had changed. Every doubt disappeared. Every excuse vanished. Emily hadn't planned to leave because she had fallen in love. She had planned every step. She wanted another life. She also wanted part of mine. I saved copies of every message and forwarded everything to Olivia. A few minutes later, my phone vibrated. Her reply contained only one sentence. "This is the evidence we needed." The day I filed for divorce, I expected to feel victorious. Instead, I felt empty. Olivia handed me the documents. "It's official." I nodded. "What happens now?" "We wait. That's all. For now." I thanked her and walked outside. The air felt different. Not lighter, just unfamiliar. A week later, I packed my clothes into 3 boxes and left the house that had once been my dream. I rented a small apartment across town. The living room barely fit a couch and a table. The bedroom held only a bed and a dresser. For the first time in years, everything around me belonged only to me. Ryan visited that evening. He looked around and smiled. "It's small." "It is, but it's peaceful." I laughed softly. I never thought peace would matter more than space. He handed me a pizza box. "I figured you wouldn't cook." "You figured right." We ate in silence before he finally spoke. "How are you really doing?" I still wake up thinking it was a nightmare. And then, I remember it was real. He nodded. "That'll take time." "I know." Before leaving, he said, "Don't rebuild your life alone." "I won't." The next morning, I joined a gym. The trainer asked, "What's your goal?" I answered honestly, "I want to recognize myself again." Every workout hurt. Every mile on the treadmill reminded me how much pain I had carried. But every day became a little easier. I also buried myself in work. I stayed late at the office. I called new clients. I accepted projects I would once have avoided. My assistant smiled one afternoon. "I haven't seen you this focused before. I need something to build." She nodded. "Looks like you're building yourself too." Her words stayed with me. Olivia also recommended a therapist. "You've handled everything logically," she said. "But logic doesn't heal wounds." A week later, I sat across from Dr. Nathan Brooks. He smiled kindly. "I'm Nathan." "I'm Ethan." "What brings you here?" "My marriage ended." "Tell me why." I took a deep breath. "My wife betrayed me." He remained quiet. "I keep asking why I wasn't enough." Nathan leaned forward. "Let me ask you something." "Okay. If someone steals your wallet, does that mean you deserve to be robbed?" "No." "If someone lies to you, does that automatically make you unworthy?" I frowned. "I guess not." He smiled. "Exactly. I stayed silent. Nathan continued. Betrayal tells us far more about the betrayer than the victim. I repeated his words quietly. More about the betrayer. Yes, you didn't choose dishonesty. No, she did. I looked down. I still feel broken. You lost trust. Yes, but you didn't lose your value. Those words followed me long after the session ended. Over the next several weeks, I kept returning. Sometimes I talked. Sometimes I simply listened. Each visit made the weight on my shoulders a little lighter. I also began reconnecting with old friends. One evening, Mark called. I heard you've disappeared. I needed time. Come have dinner with us. I don't know. No excuses. I smiled. I'll be there. For the first time in months, I laughed without forcing it. Slowly, life stopped feeling like survival. It started feeling possible again. One afternoon, Ryan called. You should see this. What happened? Emily's telling everyone you abandoned her. I sighed. What exactly is she saying? That you became cold. Anything else? That work mattered more than your marriage. I laughed quietly. Interesting. Do you want to respond? No. Why not? The truth doesn't need shouting. A few days later, my phone buzzed repeatedly. Mutual friends began apologizing. One message read, "We finally learned what really happened." Another said, "Emily didn't tell us everything." I replied politely, "No hard feelings." Meanwhile, Ryan continued keeping me updated. He called one evening. "You won't believe this." "Try me." Daniel found out Emily lied to him too. I looked up from my desk. About what? Money. What else? The timeline. I stayed quiet. Ryan continued. He thought she was already separated when they met. But she wasn't. No. I closed my eyes. So now he knows. He confronted her. What happened? They argued for hours. And he doesn't trust her anymore. I leaned back in my chair. The same crack she created in my marriage. Ryan finished the thought. Is now breaking hers. After the call ended, I stood by my apartment window. Months earlier, I had believed losing Emily meant losing myself. Now, I finally understood something different. I hadn't been rebuilding my old life. I had been creating a better one. The pain hadn't disappeared. Maybe it never completely would. But it no longer controlled my choices. For the first time since that day at the airport, I climbed into bed without replaying the betrayal. I closed my eyes. Within minutes, I fell asleep peacefully, knowing tomorrow belonged to me instead of my past. 3 months passed after I filed for divorce. One morning, Ryan called before I reached the office. You sound busy, I said. I've got news. About Emily? Yeah. I leaned against my car. What happened? Daniel found out about her debts. I stayed quiet. Ryan continued. Apparently she borrowed money before coming home. And never told him? No. What else? He also discovered she lied about how much money she expected from the divorce. I closed my eyes. So the truth finally reached him. Ryan sighed. They've been arguing almost every day. I don't enjoy hearing that. I know, but you should know something. What? You never needed revenge. I smiled faintly. Maybe karma simply works faster than people think. When I arrived at the office, my assistant greeted me. You have a meeting at 10. Who's coming? Victoria Hayes. I've heard the name. She's interested in investing. That surprised me. For months, I had been expanding my company without expecting much attention. At exactly 10 o'clock, Victoria entered the conference room. She shook my hand confidently. Mr. Walker, please call me Ethan. Only if you call me Victoria. I smiled. Deal. She opened a folder. I've reviewed your business. And I like what I see. Thank you. She looked directly at me. But I have one question. I'm listening. Why should I trust you with my investment? I answered without rehearsing. Because I don't build businesses by making promises I can't keep. She nodded. What happens when things go wrong? I tell the truth. You don't hide problems? No. You don't blame other people? I fix what I can. Victoria smiled. That's exactly what I hoped you'd say. For 2 hours we discussed numbers, future plans, and long-term goals. When the meeting ended, she extended her hand. I'd like to partner with you. I shook it. I won't disappoint you. I don't think you will. The partnership changed everything. Within weeks, our company secured larger contracts. New clients arrived. Revenue increased. Employees celebrated. One afternoon, my manager laughed. I haven't seen this much growth in years. I smiled. Neither have I. He looked at me carefully. You seem different too. Ow, calmer. I thought about it. I finally stopped trying to prove my worth to the wrong person. That evening I visited Dr. Nathan Brooks. He noticed the smile before I sat down. Something changed. It did. What happened? My business is growing. Congratulations. Thank you. He tilted his head. Does Emily's situation still control your emotions? I considered the question. No, really, I don't wake up thinking about her anymore. What do you think about instead? My future. Nathan smiled. That's progress. I used to believe healing meant forgetting. And now, I think healing means remembering without breaking. He nodded. I couldn't have said it better. Days later, Ryan called again. You were right. About what? Daniel. What happened? He moved out. I stayed silent. Ryan continued. He couldn't trust Emily anymore. Did she admit everything? Not even close. So they're finished? Looks that way. I looked out my office window. For a moment, I expected satisfaction. Instead, I felt nothing. Not happiness. Not revenge. Just acceptance. The next afternoon, my receptionist knocked gently. Ethan, come in. There's someone asking to see you. Who? Emily. My heartbeat remained steady. Send her in. She walked into my office slowly. She looked tired. Dark circles rested beneath her eyes. She stopped in front of my desk. Hi. Hello. You look well. I've been doing better. She looked around the office. You've changed this place. We've been expanding. I'm happy for you. I nodded politely. She twisted her fingers nervously. Can we talk? We're talking. I mean, really talk. I remained silent. She pulled out a chair. May I sit? Go ahead. She sat down. I know you hate me. I don't. Her eyes widened. You don't. Hating you would keep me connected to the past. She looked down. I made terrible mistakes. You did. I've been trying to fix them. I hope you succeed. She looked at me carefully. That's all you have to say? What were you expecting? I don't know. An argument? Maybe. I've already lived through the argument in my head. She wiped away a tear. I never thought everything would fall apart. It already had. What do you mean? Our marriage ended long before I found out. She couldn't answer. I wanted us to be happy, she whispered. I did too. I never wanted to hurt you. But you did. I know. Silence filled the room. Finally, she asked, do you think you'll ever forgive me? I answered honestly. Forgiveness isn't the problem. What is? Trust. She lowered her head. I understand. She stood slowly. I guess there's nothing else to say. I watched her walk toward the door. Just before leaving, she turned around. You seem like a completely different man. I smiled gently. No, I finally became the man I should have been all along. She nodded once and quietly left my office. I looked at the closed door for only a moment before returning to the contract on my desk. The woman I once believed I couldn't live without had become someone I barely recognized. I didn't see the love of my life anymore. I saw someone carrying the weight of her own choices while I finally carried the confidence of mine. 2 days after Emily visited my office, my phone rang again. Her name appeared on the screen. For a moment, I considered ignoring it. Instead, I answered, Hello, Ethan. Her voice sounded weak. Can we meet one last time? I stayed silent. Please. Where? The park near our old house. I'll be there in 30 minutes. When I arrived, Emily was already sitting on a bench. She looked thinner than before. Her eyes were red. I sat across from her. You wanted to talk. She nodded. I owe you the truth. You do. She took a deep breath. I don't expect you to forgive me. I'm listening. She looked down at her hands. When I first moved overseas, I felt alone. I remained silent. I missed you. She laughed bitterly. At least I thought I did. What changed? I met Daniel. At work? Yes. We started as friends. And then, I kept telling myself it wasn't serious. I didn't interrupt. We had lunch together. She swallowed hard. Then dinner. And after that, I crossed the line. You had an affair. Yes. She closed her eyes. I should have told you immediately. But you didn't. I was afraid. Afraid of what? Losing you. I looked at her. You had already chosen someone else. I know. She wiped away a tear. Every line made the next one easier. I said nothing. She continued. Then I found out I was pregnant. I felt my chest tighten despite everything. I panicked. What did Daniel say? He wanted us to raise the baby together. And you agreed? Yes. I nodded slowly. You still called me every night. She started crying. I know. You told me you loved me. I did. I shook my head. No. I thought I did. You loved having someone who trusted you. She couldn't answer. After a long silence, she whispered, maybe you're right. I looked toward the empty playground. So why come back? I thought I could fix everything. Ow! I convinced myself I deserve happiness. I laughed softly. At whose expense? She looked away. Yours. The word barely escaped her lips. I asked quietly, did you ever plan to tell me before the airport? She hesitated. No. You were going to wait until the divorce. Yes. And until you secured money for my business. She covered her face. I'm ashamed. You should be. She cried openly. I became someone I don't even recognize. I believed her. That was the tragedy. She finally understood herself only after destroying everything around her. I asked, where's Daniel now? He left. What? He found out I lied. About what? My debts. What else? When our relationship really started. I nodded. So he stopped trusting you. Yes. Just like I did. She whispered, I deserve that. Neither of us spoke for several seconds. Then she reached in her bag. She pulled out my old wedding photograph. I kept this. I looked at it. We were smiling. Young. Certain. She touched the edge of the picture. I keep asking myself where everything went wrong. I know where. Where? The first time you chose a lie instead of the truth. Fresh tears rolled down her cheeks. I'm sorry. I believe you. She looked up quickly. You do? Yes. I've never regretted anything more. I believe that too. Hope briefly appeared in her eyes. Then maybe... She stopped speaking. I finished the sentence for her. You think we can start over? She nodded slowly. I know I don't deserve it. No. I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you. I looked at the woman I had once planned to grow old with. For one painful second, I remembered buying white roses. I remembered waiting at the airport. I remembered hiding behind the pillar while watching another man kiss my wife. I remembered the little girl calling him daddy. Those memories never asked for permission before returning. Emily whispered, please. I still love parts of you. Her face brightened. I continued. I love the woman I believed you were. Her hope disappeared again. But she doesn't exist anymore. She lowered her head. I know. I've forgiven you. She looked at me with surprise. You have. Forgiveness lets me move forward. A tear slid down her cheek. Thank you. But forgiveness isn't reconciliation. She closed her eyes. I understand. If I took you back. I paused. I would betray myself. She nodded slowly. I don't want that for you. I spent months rebuilding my life. I know. I won't destroy it by pretending nothing happened. She stood quietly. I really did love you once. I know. I just stopped protecting that love. Yes. She looked at me one last time. I hope someday you find someone who loves you honestly. I smiled gently. I hope someday you become someone who can love honestly. She turned and walked away without another word. I watched until she disappeared. For the first time since the airport, I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel revenge. I didn't even feel sadness. I felt closure. The chapter of my life that Emily had broken was finally over. The future waiting ahead belonged entirely to me, and this time I would never hand my worth to someone unwilling to protect it. 9 months after I walked out of my old life, my phone rang with the call I had expected. Olivia spoke first. Congratulations. I smiled. It's finished. Yes. The divorce is officially finalized. I closed my eyes for a moment. Thank you. You earned this. I couldn't have done it alone. She laughed softly. You did the hard part. After ending the call, I looked around my office. The walls were covered with plans for new projects. Employees moved confidently through the hallway. The company had grown beyond anything I imagined. Victoria knocked gently. Busy? Not anymore. She stepped inside. You look different today. I finally closed an old chapter. She smiled. I had a feeling. I wanted to thank you. For what? For believing in me when I was rebuilding everything. She folded her arms. I invested in honesty. I won't forget that. I know. Before leaving, she added, keep building. I will. That evening, Ryan invited me to dinner. When I arrived, Grace was already there. Ryan stood and hugged me. To new beginnings. Grace laughed. And better decisions. We all smiled. Ryan raised his glass. I have a question. What is it? I asked. If you could go back to the airport that day, would you change anything? I thought carefully. Months earlier, I would have answered immediately. Now I shook my head. No. Grace looked surprised. Really? Really? Ryan frowned. Even knowing the pain waiting for you? Yes. Why? Because that day forced me to become someone stronger. Grace reached across the table. I'm proud of you. Thank you. Ryan grinned. I'm proud too. Later that week, I met Dr. Nathan Brooks for what became our final session. He smiled as I entered. You don't look like the man who first walked into my office. I don't feel like him either. What changed? I stopped measuring my value through someone else's choices. He nodded. And now, I trust myself again. He leaned back. That's why you don't need therapy anymore. I laughed. I'll take that as good news. It is. Before leaving, he said, remember one thing. I'm listening. Healing isn't becoming who you were. It's becoming someone wiser. I won't forget. A few days later, I had an early meeting near the airport. As I drove past the terminal, I slowed down. The same entrance stood before me. The same glass doors. The same arrival gate. I parked without thinking. Then I walked inside. Families hugged. Children laughed. Travelers hurried through the crowd. Almost nothing had changed. Except me. I stood where I had once held white roses. Instead of pain, I felt gratitude. I whispered quietly, thank you. Not because betrayal had been fair. Because survival had been possible. The airport wasn't where I lost everything. It was where I unknowingly found myself. As I turned toward the exit, I noticed someone standing across the terminal. Emily. She held Lily's tiny hand. The little girl looked older now. She smiled while pointing toward an airplane outside the window. Emily noticed me. For several seconds, neither of us moved. She offered a small, respectful nod. I returned it. No anger remained between us. Only distance. Lily looked at me with innocent curiosity. She had never chosen any of this. I quietly wished her the kind of future every child deserved. One filled with honesty instead of secrets. With courage instead of lies. With love that never needed deception. Emily seemed to understand my silent wish. She gently squeezed Lily's hand and walked away. I watched them disappear into the crowd. This time, I didn't hide behind a pillar. This time, I didn't cry. This time, I simply turned around and walked toward my own future. That evening, I visited my apartment. Inside my bedroom stood the same wooden dresser I had moved months earlier. I opened the top drawer. My wedding ring rested exactly where I had left it. I picked it up and rolled it across my fingers. I forgive the man who thought love alone could save a marriage, I whispered. I also respect the man who learned that self-respect must come first. I placed the ring inside a small wooden box. For a moment, I looked at it one last time. Then I gently closed the lid. The quiet click sounded like the end of a long chapter. Not a tragedy. A lesson. I placed the box on the highest shelf inside my closet. It would remain there as a reminder, not of betrayal, but of survival. I walked toward the front door. Before leaving, I looked back only once. There was nothing left to carry. No bitterness. No hatred. No desire for revenge. I finally understood something that had taken months to learn. Revenge can satisfy anger for a moment. Rebuilding yourself creates peace that lasts a lifetime. Nobody can steal confidence that you earn. Nobody can destroy a future you choose to build. I smiled, opened the door, stepped into the evening light, and walked forward without looking back, knowing the strongest version of me had been born from the hardest goodbye of my life. And that was a victory nobody could ever take away.